Right, let's get into game two. We're on Alcyone, or I don't know, how are you supposed to say that? Alcyone? Who knows? Alcyone, I'm going with, but could be wrong. Anyway, GreyRavon in the top right is one game up. No, is one get no, is what? Wait, there we go. Is best of five. GreyRavon is one game up. With a pretty brutal roach time in attack of two bases. So let's see if she's going to do the same thing again. I've got a suspicion I know the answer to that, but we'll see. She might go for mixing it up. The bigger question, I suppose, is HangemHigh going to respond to this in some different way? You know, his build was pretty tight, but it still couldn't hold. And trust me, I know all about that because when GreyRavon was practicing that build against me, quite a few times I tried to hold that roach push whilst playing straight up. So, you know, by straight up, I mean continuing to expand, doing all the normal things, having plenty of sort of creep queens out, having a third up and mining, teching up into hydras, the types of things that you would generally do. And what I found was it was pretty much impossible to hold that roach push while doing that. So the only real hope you've got of holding that is either to do pretty much the same build, and have your own roaches out, and then you've got defender's advantage, or to do something pretty all in yourself. So for example, I mean, you could just do a massive ling flood, really super early. It would have to be early because one of the key features of that build is GreyRavon's going to wall off the natural with the double Evo and Roach Warren, so it's very hard for the lings to get in and get damage done. So a really early pull, certainly pull first, potentially could disrupt that. Alternatively, a Benling bust where you take out the Roach Warren if you know it's coming, might be able to disrupt that as well. Just flood in with Benlings and focused on the Roach Warren. And that would throw a real spanner in your opponent's works, especially if you have researched, for example, +1 Carapace, and your opponent has researched +1 ranged attack. Take out the Roach Warren, and that +1 ranged attack is doing you no good whatsoever in the Ling fight that will follow. So I am pretty sure GreyRavon cut Ling speed to get those roaches out. I don't think she got Ling speed. So I quite like the idea of, if you see that build developing, of Benling busting and smashing the Roach Warren, because it really would disrupt that something shocking. However, I don't know that that's what we're going to see. HangemHigh is in with the Overlord. Not that much to see. Oh, does he see? Yeah, he sees the lair coming down. So that, you know, under 3 minutes getting a lair, no third. You know this is coming. You know what's about to happen. The Overlord on the way out is going to get confirmation of the Roach Warren and the Evo coming. Oh, doesn't quite see the Roach Warren, but I think you know when you see this. Now, this Overlord of GreyRavon pulls the other queen across it. Oh, no. 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 The queen's coming for it, and the queen is going to get it because the Overlord has stopped moving. Overlords and queens move at approximately the same speed when the queen is off creep. So HangemHigh is going to get the queen, but GreyRavon's going to get the Overlord. Oh, does he have enough lings for it? I think he does. So she, oh, it's a fair swap. So GreyRavon decides to focus on the Overlord, which is the right choice, realizing that she was going to lose the queen. Does she need that queen? Arguably no. It is nice to have a bit of a creep highway for your roaches to get across the map, but she is going to be researching the speed upgrade, hence the very early layer. So there's a Roach Warren here for HangemHigh as well, and he has also got the double Evo. So yeah, it's only single Evo this time for GreyRavon. So this actually could change everything. However, the speed upgrade is on its way for GreyRavon, and there is no speed upgrade yet. The lair isn't done yet for HangemHigh, and that roach speed upgrade is arguably the single most important upgrade for the roaches, especially if you're the aggressor. And the reason for that is because they take less transit time to get across the map, so you have less roaches on their way to the fight. Now, I'm quite a yeah, I don't like to see idle larvae. I never like to see idle larvae. Not within the first like 5-6 minutes of the game. So roach speed is important for that reason. And the second reason is it gives you micro ability. You can cycle your roaches a little bit better if you've got the ability to move them quickly, especially if they're on creep or whatever. You can actually cycle the roaches back and forth and pull the injured roaches back. It's tunneling claws rather than speed coming out for HangemHigh. But he hasn't got burrow on the way. So burrow would need to start up pretty soon, because tunneling claws without burrow is not a useful upgrade. Tunneling claws allows the roaches to move while burrowed, and also means that they have a very fast regen while they're burrowed. But if you can't burrow them, that is not the most useful thing in the world. So HangemHigh, look, hasn't dropped a third yet. So I think he suspects that this is coming. There is a spine coming down. I'd love to see a couple of Ravagers, because Ravagers can really disrupt this as well. The tunneling claws, I mean, the tunneling claws, you don't want to fight here though. This is pretty ugly. GreyRavon just decided to focus on the Evo, and actually, I feel like HangemHigh could have used that to poke his roaches out and get an arc on the end of GreyRavon's roaches and maybe snipe a couple of them. But let's look at the upgrades. It is 1-1 against 1-0. It's 1-1 against 1-0. So in theory, HangemHigh can take this fight reasonably well if the roach numbers are matched, but they're just not. The roaches for GreyRavon greatly outnumber the roaches for HangemHigh. Now there are more roaches coming in. This is where, wouldn't you love to see a couple of Ravagers to just throw the corrosive files up. A lot of these roaches are pretty badly injured, and surely at this point HangemHigh is thinking, why can't I burrow these roaches and do the walkthrough? Because you didn't research burrow. You don't have burrow, so you've got burrow move for your roaches, but you don't have burrow, and that is hurting me pretty badly. Now roach numbers, let's have a look at the army supply. It is in favor of GreyRavon. Let's have a look at the units lost as well. Okay, 22 roaches to 16. So that 1-1 upgrade really actually doing pretty good work. However, is it going to be enough? The current number of units on the map, there are 23 roaches for GreyRavon. There's only 13 from HangemHigh. Can he hang in here? I don't know how many of these roaches are on the way across the map. A reasonable number. How many are in production for HangemHigh? 9 roaches about to pop out. So yeah, you don't want to be the one in the choke fight, and this is slightly better arc for HangemHigh. God, this is very, very tense indeed. I don't actually know who's going to win here. It is HangemHigh with the slight worker lead, but it is GreyRavon with the significant army advantage. How much of that is in production? Not much at present. So there are 27 roaches to 17 that GreyRavon has got. No further spines have come down, and I feel like that's a shame, because I think that spine was doing work. And I wouldn't have minded seeing a new Evo be built as well. Not because I expect that Evo to get any upgrades out, but it can soak up fire from your opponent's roaches. And an Evo has a lot of hit points. So it looks to me like HangemHigh is going to hold here again. Now, oh, finally, burrow. So, yeah, HangemHigh can move these and be pretty sneaky. And why wouldn't you? So one of the things he could elect to do is actually send a little hit squad across the map of about 3 roaches to just pop up in his opponent's mineral line and start working on the mineral line from behind, and that'd be great. Now he's in full chase mode here. Let's take a look. Upgrades wise, they're both 1-1. They've both got speed, but HangemHigh with move burrow is arguably ahead in upgrades, but it is GreyRavon that actually GreyRavon is not ahead in roach number, only just. So HangemHigh, you can see this burrow move is looking pretty good. GreyRavon has got the overseers out though, so she is going to shut this down now. And I think HangemHigh doesn't have enough to break here, but GreyRavon has got a third up and HangemHigh hasn't. So in the middle of that, she did manage to find the time to slap down this third. Oftentimes, if you're doing a build like this, you end up with way more minerals than you've got gas, and gas tends to be the limiting factor. Yeah, I don't know about this engage, it's pretty wonky. gas tends to be the limiting factor, so it is actually pretty easy to get the third down. You've just got to remember to do it. You've just got to remember to grab a worker, slap it down. GreyRavon slightly ahead in worker count, and her income is going to be significantly ahead. You can see it there, 1900 to 1200. So the longer the game goes, the more of an advantage she's going to get. The problem for HangemHigh is that the men is beginning to mine out, and there isn't any more interesting tech just yet. Now, what have we got here building? We've got a Hydra den. How much that's going to... Oh, so many roaches not fighting at the back here. So HangemHigh, you've got burrow move. Use it. You know, burrow these front ones and recycle them back. You know, I know that they can be seen, but it doesn't matter. You burrow them and you cycle them back. The moment they're burrowed, the roaches behind can move forward and start shooting, and that will absorb the fire from these roaches. They will automatically shoot at the things that are shooting them. The burrowed roaches are secondary. I would love to see some Ravagers in this fight because they can just make such a big difference. Remember that Ravagers with the corrosive balls, they do splash damage. No, that's too far forward, and you need to wait for your reinforcements, HangemHigh. So it does cancel the third, and that is pretty painful. This Evo chamber has done a substantial amount of work just in how much hits it has absorbed. I don't know that this upgrade is going to finish. It isn't, so it takes another salvo from the roaches. It looks like GreyRavon is beginning to eke out an advantage. She's got the income advantage, she's got the big worker advantage, and a small army advantage. If we have a look at the upgrades again, it's +2. It's +2 missile attack for HangemHigh though, and finally there's going to be some Ravagers out. So it is a pretty, well, on both sides there's going to be some Ravagers out. So there is an upgrade advantage for HangemHigh. There definitely is, but can he turn that into a win here? It is beginning to look a bit painful now that the natural is beginning to mine out as well. Reasonably good movement here to dodge these corrosive balls. Those ones not quite getting that back line of roaches. So both players have got to take this engagement so much more cagey. These Hydras in the mix could be good so long as they're well positioned, because they will melt under the roach fire pretty fast, and they will definitely melt to corrosive balls. Hydras do not like splash damage. Look at the minerals though. HangemHigh is struggling to scrape together enough to keep up the production here. He really needs to get something done to slow down GreyRavon's economy, and at present he hasn't really managed to put a dent in it. So throw in a couple of corrosive balls ahead isn't a bad plan. Try and split your opponent's army up a little bit. Try and get a line of corrosive balls through the middle of it. I would generally recommend dropping corrosive balls in lines this way rather than this way, because lines across are, you just pull everything back and you can dodge those. Lines through the center of your army, you actually have to split, and it's just trickier to do. It's definitely harder to achieve. Right, where are we at? Army supplies, very, very similar indeed. Upgrades, it is, oh goodness me, like this is so close. Look at these upgrades. They're right. We've got +2, we've got +2, we've got +1. We've got Hydra spines as well. Yeah, I don't know why you don't just snipe that with the Hydras. You've got plenty of Hydras. So I quite like HangemHigh's army, but army numbers are significantly higher for GreyRavon, and these are back to front. Look, the roaches are at the back, the Hydras are at the front. That is not the way around we want to be doing this engage. We need the roaches to be at front, and we definitely don't want to walk into our own corrosive balls. That is not what you want to be seeing. So HangemHigh desperately needs to shut this base down. If he can kill this base, then he's in this game. If he can't kill this base, then I fear he's in serious trouble. So all of the Ravagers but one are gone here for HangemHigh. He's got one Ravager left, which is going to make it really difficult. There's very few roaches left in this to absorb any damage as well. The third is now up for HangemHigh, but it isn't saturated yet, and the fourth is almost saturated for GreyRavon. So her income is just almost double HangemHigh's at present. I am kind of think that this might be the end game we're approaching here. GreyRavon with 100 army supply, over 100 army supply. HangemHigh with roughly half the army supply, half the worker supply. Sneaky escape route, I quite like that. A cheeky corrosive bile behind you wouldn't have gone astray. There's more hydras coming in, but I just don't think there's enough roaches to meat shield for them, especially if you're taking hits from corrosive biles. That's pretty ugly. I don't know. This is the last stand. It's an odd place for it to happen, and I just don't think HangemHigh has enough. I think GreyRavon has finally done it. Oh my goodness. This is, yeah, there we go. Actually, units lost very, very similar for the two players. So what this came down to, they both traded really effectively. They both traded very similarly, but what it came down to was GreyRavon was able to get the third up and hold it, and HangemHigh just wasn't. So it did come down to just being able to sustain that level of production and that relentless fight. That game was basically one big, very long roach fight, and it was a good one. GG.